You just came across super redneck.
Hey.
Even though I think having a caboose set up as a range would be sick. That would be sick.
Yes.
But it does come across pretty redneck. I'm going to take a caboose, put some containers next to it. I'm going to have the sickest range in Texas. Hey guys, this is Scott and Wendi with Raising an Archer, and we are back at it. I feel like it's been forever since we've had a podcast, even though we've been able to post every 2 weeks. But it's been crazy. We had a few in the hopper, and now we have none in the hopper. So we had to, get on this.
We have to talk.
Yeah, we had to. It's been too long.
Yes.
Wendi has asked me several times about how do you practice, how do you prepare for tournaments when you can't get to the range?
Yeah, because you guys you pretty much live at the range because that's where you work. So it's easy for y'all to get to the range. For me, y'all are an hour and a half away. So to get my girl to the range, that's a little harder. And then, outside, if it's wintertime, it's, we're on the southeast coast, or the Gulf Coast, southeast Gulf Coast, the armpit of the Gulf, as some people say, but it rains a lot during the winter.
Yeah, it gets really cold, like down to about 68, 67 degrees. So it's pretty miserable down there.
It's the rain.
Oh, okay.
And then some people complain about the rust on the bows whenever we do practice in a rain. So I don't know who that would be, huh, Scott?
Yeah, Julia's bow is always anytime we work on it, it's got rust all over that bow. So it really was, when she talked to me about it, really was a good question. So what can you do? What do you do when you can't get to the range, but you still need to get some reps in? I think there's some creative ways. I know that, Wendi, in the past, you actually had to work to deal with a gun range at one point that was close by.
Yes. And then I've gotten very lazy because here at the house, Steve put chairs outside. The target is set up. So all we have to do is walk outside. Like I can take a little bag, a snack bag out with me, and my girl just takes her bow, and we don't have to bring a cart out with us every single time or anything. It's almost like walking into a range, but it's just outside. Now at the gun range.
Rain and temperature, 67, 68 degrees, right?
Mosquitoes.
It's rough.
Now you even have mosquitoes.
That
See?
is a problem. That is a problem. Mosquitoes here can
carry you away. They are literally Texas-sized mosquitoes.
Yeah, we have those little thermocells.
I love those
that you can set up on the ground. And so the kids will go out there and they set them out there about 15 minutes beforehand and then go and shoot because the mosquitoes can be so bad.
You guys have had those for a couple of years, and we keep saying that we're going to get them, and then we never have, and we don't think about it until the mosquitoes are back and we're out there trying to shoot. But we do have a gun range that is about 15 minutes from the house. But in getting in there, we just have to make sure that we get there when someone is not trying to shoot in that part of the range. And then, and you want to talk about mental, trying to drown out distractions when you've got the guns going off in the next lane or just on the other side of the cinder block wall. But it makes jumps sometimes, but they are very nice. I've known the guy there since I was in high school because he was the ag teacher at another high school. But yeah, they do let us come on in and we just pay a range fee.
30, 40 years ago. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. But they let us come in. We pay a range fee just like the gun owners do. And I just have to take targets with us, but they even have bales in there for us. They've got them on rollers that we can roll around. So, yeah, anytime we go there before a major shoot, if we find that we can't get indoors somewhere, I try to give them a plug. So
Yeah, I talked to a couple parents in the last week or so saying, how do you guys practice when you can't get to the range? And I know for us, we actually set up a target in our laundry room, which was only about 5 yards. It wasn't very long, not real wide. The biggest issue was it just got hot in there while while he was shooting, my son's shooting. So we would have to set a fan up and all this stuff. And my wife was just a good sport. We left that target in there. That target was in there for years because even during COVID, when we were, when everything was shut down, all like you guys would come over and we would work on bows and get everything tuned and ready to go in that little laundry room.
right.
And it was tight.
Yeah, so that's what we've done this week. We measured through the house, and from the den to the mudroom, I can get 12 and a half meters.
There you go. I mean, 10 yards is fine. If you can get 10 yards, I think that that's actually really good, because I think Maple Leaf has those micro targets that you can purchase that simulates 20 yards.
Yeah, you said you made some, and I didn't know, like, you just printed them off, that they have them. So I'm hoping maybe I can get them on Amazon, or I can find them. That tells me, I thought you created them on, Word.
I did. You can create them. I think I have the file that you can just print them off. They're out there. If you just go out there and do a search for printing the half targets, or I don't remember what they're called, micro targets. I just know that if you go to Maple Leaf's website, they have them right there that you can just order. I think also 30-06 website has them there as well, that you can order the micro targets so that you can get it, so it can kind of simulate that further distance, even though they're shooting close.
Right. Cool. Okay, so 30-06 and Maple Leaf. Familiar with Maple Leaf because we see that a lot in archery. And I don't know, I had a thought come across my head, but it just kind of went across. That's what it did.
That fast?
That fast.
While you're talking.
While I was talking, yes. Oh, I know what it was. So Stephen was asking me today, well, what are we going to do about a target? Because we do have the big square one that's got the 4 replaceable centers. And so I need to either order that and have that in there, or you have some dice that I know that people have used, foam dice, and I don't mean like the kind hanging from the rearview mirror, but foam dice that people use and take with them on trips, like in a hotel room. I know some of the guys have used them in the hotel halls, in the hotel rooms, to practice at those large tournaments. So that's where, today I was like, hey, thinking about getting one of those, and how much do they cost, so I can kind of figure everything out, because evidently you don't shoot through those foam dice.
Well, you can.
Oh, great.
Eventually, not at
well,
first.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah, well, once you start wearing them out, Big Shot has a dice that you can, big dice, like a big dice, big red dice that you can.
You're not rolling these dice.
Yeah, no. Well, you could chunk them and knock a kid over with them.
We're not shooting craps with these dice. I was just thinking, because Vegas is coming up, at dice. I wanted to be clear about what kind of dice I was talking about.
Yeah, there's other ones out there. I think what Wendy's, the point is that you'll need to get a target that doesn't shoot through. And we ran into that, actually. If you went in our lunch room right now, you're going to see little holes in the sheetrock because they went through and hit the sheetrock. But that's nothing that spackle can't fix, and a little bit of paint.
Well, she'll be shooting into a wood wall, so yeah.
The big targets are going to be fine. It's those little micro ones that'll get you, because they'll fly through eventually. I guess they're just coming in. They're so small, they don't have as much friction, and they'll shoot through. Not on those dice at first. You'll be good. You can keep spinning it. I
can roll the dice each time.
That's right. Like heading to Vegas and rolling the dice.
Rolling the dice. So also, we've talked to Adam Gugasberg about what practice might look like inside. And he said, imagining that in your head. For one, going through, sitting up in a room, maybe not even having a bow, but just physically going through the motion, physically going through the process, having the eyes closed and going through that, envisioning that in your head. He said that's huge because whenever you do that, you make the physical motions while your eyes are closed. It gets your muscles going back into just that repetition of knowing what to do. And then your mind is staying sharp on knowing each particular thing that you're supposed to be doing. Because I know that whenever he works with her, he says, works on particular things. There's 3 things that they work on. And one of those can even be breathing. And so when you're practicing going through those motions and practicing even the breathing, you're getting that with you as well. So then whenever it comes to the actual practice, you've already been practicing that and you have that to go ahead and be able to do that in your shots. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm like, no, it doesn't. I'm like, no, you got to draw back. You got to feel the pressure of the bow. And he's like, well, you got to know in your mind what you're going to do. Do you really? I'm sure he really enjoyed that conversation.
He'll
Poor
be
Adam.
listening to this and rolling his eyes.
Yeah, I'll get a text, some kind of picture.
I think you brought up a good point with the practicing, how you practice. So if you're shooting indoors, I don't think you're going to go in there and shoot just to get reps in. I think that it's very important that you have a plan of what you're going to do. If you're going to be shooting 10 yards, maybe you get the target to simulate 20 yards, but what are you going to work on while you practice? Are you going to work on the breathing? Are you going to work on your anchor? Are you going to work on, there's certain things that you need to be working on, and it's a good spot to start. That's a good time to do that because it gives you the ability to not worry about the score.
Right. And then you're also, if you need to work on your tempo, that's something that's easily done indoor because it's going to be the same tempo indoor it's going to be indoor regardless, but unless it's outdoor season, but then we're talking about, okay. Anyway, but you can still do that tempo and work on that regardless of the distance is what I really needed to say.
So, Wendi, I think you bring up a good point with the visualization and things like that. I know that Adam talks about visualizing a target that's clean. So, there's times where we shoot these targets and they look awesome, and we may hang on to them, and we may just throw them in the trash. What he says is, and I completely agree with him, is take that, put it up on your wall, so every time you walk in, you see that good target. You can visualize what a good target's supposed to look like. I think that Matthew Parmenter talked a lot about that as well. And
it's so funny that you said that because that's exactly what popped into my mind when you're talking about visualizing the perfect target. So go ahead. That's exactly where my mind went. Go ahead, talk about it.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to the one with Matthew Parmenter, you should.
Absolutely.
The kid's 16 years old, and amazing kid. But he talks about the visualization of a shot, and he talks about, what did he call it?
The shot of bliss.
Bliss, that's right. So he talked about this shot of bliss. It doesn't happen every time, but there's this 1 or 2 shots in his practice that he says is that one shot where he was just like everything clicked, and that's what he hyper focuses on.
That's what he visualizes. Yep.
When he says he's even at home before he's getting to bed, he still he can't get over that one shot where he just keeps visualizing what it felt like, what it looked like. So it's like he took this snapshot, this quick little Snapchat. what is it?
Okay.
Reel, whatever. I'm trying to be hip. I'm trying, be real. I'm just trying to be hip, right now.
Just stop.
He takes this little, this picture and completely visualizes it And
It's a snapshot, not
and
Snapchat.
it gives, yeah, yeah, it's a Snapchat of
No,
what
it's a
exactly happened during that shot. So Matthew, again, he gives this picture of what he does, which I think is really key. You just continue to think about what that perfect shot looks like. It's the same idea of when you're, when everything is clicking. We always forget to take video or pictures of those times.
Mm-hmm.
The times when we usually video is what?
When something's going wrong.
When we're struggling. Yeah.
Yeah, struggling.
And the reason why we think about that is yeah, yeah, that they're struggling. We're taking video and then we're sending it to our coach. And then when we look through all of our videos, every single one of them is of the struggle. It could be a different struggle, but we forget that there's a big part of that is that we got to be able to see what it actually looks like when everything is clicking and going right. Take video of that and be prepared to have that on hand when, okay, they're struggling. Let's take a look at what you're doing now. And let's look at what was when everything was great, and take that video and look at it.
Think about how that changes the focus. You're focusing on what you've been struggling on. You've taken pictures of what you've been struggling on. Man, I need to know how to fix this. But then your focus, if you're looking at that one shot of bliss, you're looking at the things that go right. You're looking at that target. Man, my body just then did a total shift thinking about, wow, that's what that looked like. What did I do when I did that? Okay, these are the things that I needed to do in order to get that. Okay, let me think about that. And now my body is focusing and it's changed and it's practicing those things that it took to get that good target, that good shot of bliss. So, it's even, I mean, I felt it in my own body whenever I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about it. And then I, shifted it into that positive vibe, Scott. No, the positive thinking, the visualization of what it takes for those good things to happen. And it really changes your focus.
Yeah, and to get to that level, you can't just go out there and just shoot. Even if you're not shooting in your laundry room or in your living room, I think you set up in the living room, you're shooting in your garage or like that. There's got to be things that you're working on to get you to that shot of bliss. And it just takes, and it does. It takes time. It takes planning. It's
a whole different kind of training. Yeah, you've got to have that plan ahead of time and then train your brain and everything to think that way. But if, like you said, if you haven't planned for that, then you're not going to train your body and your brain to do that. So, that's why I really wanted to have this podcast to get people into that way of thinking, because my mind was like, surely we're not the only ones who have this problem. And I was thinking of my girl's friend up north, and in Montana, and they got feet of snow. How do they practice? Do they have a really big house where they practice and they got 18 meters inside their house? How does this work for people? We've had monsoon season down here right now, and we've never had, I don't ever remember standing water all over our property, but it's like, okay, Luke and Julia are having to wear different kinds of shoes to go to the car because the water standing where they park their cars there, or where, Stephen and Luke park their vehicles, that it's higher up. But to get to it, and where my car is, it's higher up. But then there's a little valley, a little dip, and they've got to go through water to get to it. And like, okay, I don't remember this happening. So what are we going to do? We're struggling. We've got a few majors coming up, and how is it going to work? We've got to prepare. You can't just go to a tournament unprepared.
And the one thing we're learning when these kids hit 12, 13, 14, 15, even older, the amount of practice and good practice become very important.
Oh yeah.
Shooting, when you're 12 years old and you're shooting 1-2 times a week and you're just kind of throwing arrows down there, hey, that works at that age. But once you hit 13, 14, 15, these kids are putting in the time.
Right.
You're looking at 3, 4, 5, maybe even more days. I think that's too much. But I think that, these kids that are doing 4 and 5 days a week and they have a regimen of what the day before they're like, okay, this is what I'm going to work on. Those are the kids that are excelling. And if you're not getting that time in and you're not working at it, you're going to get passed up. And we see that. I know, Wendi, you and I both see this happen.
Oh,
we
yeah.
have some archers that are just outstanding archers. They shot really well, won some big tournaments, but then they're just not stepping up to that next level. And I think that part of that is you have to get creative on the time, because we all have jobs.
Yeah.
My job's a little different, but most people have a job where it makes it very difficult to get their kid to a practice every single day or 3 or 4 times a week. So how do you do it? You got to get creative.
Right.
I never even heard of anybody going to a gun range and asking if they can set up a target. I think that's super creative, and I think that there's other people out there that may have a warehouse that you're like, hey, do you mind if I set something up? I've got a kid that wants to practice.
Right.
And I don't see anybody having a problem with that.
So just, asking around any businesses that you might have around or anything like that. I know that Rendon Brooks up northern Texas or north of Dallas, that, she's got her a hut, but not everybody can do that. And we've thought about doing that. We've thought about getting cargo containers and putting them together, but we haven't done that. And, I even thought they had a caboose that was for sale down here. And I thought, wow, can I get some containers? And then I have the caboose. The caboose could be kind of like a clubhouse kind of thing, and then have the containers. But,
You just came across super redneck.
Hey.
Even though I think having a caboose set up as a range would be sick. That would be sick.
Yes.
But it does come across pretty redneck. I'm going to take a caboose, put some containers next to it. I'm going to have the sickest range in Texas. Pimp my range.
Yes. But I mean, when you've got kids that compete and want to compete on that higher level, like you said, you've got to be creative. How creative was that, Scott?
That was pretty creative. I love it, but I'm still going to make fun of you.
What's new? I really thought for a while you were making fun of my idea for this podcast too.
No, I like the idea.
Yeah, I just figured there's got to be more people, because we try to help people and we try to help them through the things that we go through, and that's something that I go through, and with my own kid, and trying to figure that piece of the puzzle out. And I want to say it's the main piece of the puzzle. If you don't practice, you just said it, you kind of get left behind or passed up. So practice is key.
And it happens quick.
Yes.
It happens quick.
Yes.
And I was talking to my daughter, and so she's been practicing for the last.
Which one? Because you have 3, and you have 2 that shoot.
Ellie, my 13-year-old Ellie. So she is, things have really started to click, and her scores are going up, and in probably about the last 3 or 4 weeks, she's been practicing. Probably about 4 days a week on average. Maybe some days 5. Or some weeks 5.
I was like, some days
and she's
5?
just like, some days 5. And she's just like, man, since I've been practicing, my scores have been going up.
Yeah.
Like she's shocked that that's happening. I'm just like, you don't say. So you put a little more practice in, all of a sudden you get better. Wow.
But I also think once they're old enough to realize that, and they know that they know the goal that they want, then that makes that want of, I want to practice more. I want to go to the range. I want to do this. I want to have this time. Hey, Mom, when can we do this? Julia was saying, hey, when can you measure in the house? Because we have two different longer distances in the house. And so trying to figure out which one was the longest, which one goes from somebody's bedroom to to the formal living room, or which one goes from the den to the bedroom. Which one's longer?
We have upstairs. We can get about 20 yards. Back when we were a little more creative. We don't do it anymore, but you could literally shoot from one end of the house to the other, and it would go through like 3 sets of doors.
Yes.
We did it a few times. We're like, you know what? This just seems a little too sketchy. We're not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, if something were to go awry, how would that affect the house, or would the arrow come back? I don't know, because we've got to where we'll have to shoot through.
No, it'll stick in sheetrock. It doesn't bounce back. I guess if it hits a stud, it could come back. Bounce back.
We've got wood paneling, so how's it gonna work?
It'll stick.
It'll stick. Okay, all right.
Oh yeah, it'll stick. It'll look terrible, but it'll stick.
Well, I came home to one day to a hole in my ceiling and cabinets where my father had been cleaning his gun and didn't make sure it was unloaded, I guess. I don't really know, but yeah. So if I can come home to that and that can be somewhat repaired, then I guess a little arrow hole here and there may not be too bad.
Again, we are from Texas. If you couldn't tell. Wendi.
Hopefully they know us.
Cleaning their gun.
I wasn't. It was my father. He was cleaning his gun in my kitchen. Came home and I was like, what happened? Yeah. So things happen, I guess.
Well, I hope that helps you guys.
Yes.
I know that Wendi and I have talked a little bit about this and trying to figure out what's best for our athletes. How do we get them the time behind the bow that they need?
Get creative.
And, if you guys have any creative ideas, let us know, because we'll probably use them.
I don't even want to say worst comes to worst, because I think it's a key point is the visualization. But yeah.
Yep.
So a lot of people would say, oh, worst comes to worst, I guess I'll go ahead and do the visualization. But I think the visualization needs to be part of your daily practice, regardless if you get behind the bow or not. Daily routine. That's right.
Well, thanks everybody for joining.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll catch you guys at the next target.
And that is it for this episode of Raising an Archer.